So you can't be a good white person and put your body in between them trying to kidnap a brown person or harm a black person. When you do that, you lose your proximity to whiteness and you lose the benefits that come along with it. That's the cost.
I'm going to say this to all of the white people as a white person. We are the problem with this country. We have been the problem since day one. Since we designed this country to benefit white people. Beating black people, lynching black people, tearing out the fetuses, using babies as alligator bait, paying Charleston to beat our slaves, to whip them and put salt in their wounds by the day. Segregation, Jim Crow, the genocide of Native Americans. I'm going to say this to all of the white people as a white person. We are the problem with this country. We have been the problem since day one. Since we designed this country to benefit white people. Beating black people, lynching black people, tearing out the fetuses, using babies as alligator bait, paying Charleston to beat our slaves, to whip them and put salt in their wounds by the day. Segregation, Jim Crow, the genocide of Native Americans, the Trail of Tears, Asians in internment camps, because how dare an Asian come to America? We have to put them in camps because we have to make sure America stays white. Stealing the land from Mexico, stealing the land from the Native Americans, stealing black people on the Middle Passage. Most of you people don't even know what the hell it is or how many people died or about the bull sharks that follow the ships because you don't care about actual history. Oh, hey, let's just take Hawaii. Let's go see.
White people, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our violence, white violence. No more deflecting, no more blaming everything on everybody else. Let's confront ourselves. White people in America, our history is so extremely violent. And instead of confronting that, we continue to blame other people for the issues and the problems in this country, instead of just taking ownership of our part to play in everything, which is a huge part. Can we stop scapegoating other groups of people, please, and just look at ourselves? White people, it's time to talk about it. Like, it's long past time. Getting rid of other groups of people in this country is not going to make this country better. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make you better. I think white people are so scared to talk about race and to talk about white violence and white supremacy because they don't want to connect themselves to it. We don't want to feel like we're a part of the problem. But unless you're acknowledging the reality of how the US, this country, runs, you are a part of the problem. I truly believe in my heart, in my soul, that if you're born a white person in this country or on this planet, but I'll just speak about this country, part of that journey is to dismantle systems that have been built to oppress other people. The hard work of life is to confront yourself. How do I benefit from the way that things are? And how does my benefiting from those things harm other people? And instead of walking around with, 1,000-pound bag of shame on your back, consider it your responsibility to do that work. Consider it an opportunity that you are in the best possible position to make this world a better place by not accepting racist and prejudiced and oppressive systems for what they are and trying to contribute to changing them. Use the privilege that you have for good. I don't think that anybody can ever really love themselves without being honest about themselves, without being honest with themselves. And that work is painful and hard, but it's so worth it. White people, you don't have to consciously think that you're better than other people in order to contribute to harm against them. All it takes to contribute to harm is to stay silent and disengaged. White people, can we finally get this shit right? Can we finally take accountability? Can we finally look ourselves in the mirror and decide that this isn't good enough? We're not doing a good enough job. You aren't losing because somebody else is safe and cared for. You aren't losing because somebody different than you exists. White people, let's talk about it. Let's start having these conversations with ourselves and with each other. It's time.
So you can't be a good white person and put your body in between them trying to kidnap a brown person or harm a black person. When you do that, you lose your proximity to whiteness and you lose the benefits that come along with it. That's the cost. We're all acting so shocked that they murdered a white woman. Well, see, she wasn't a good white. She was out there advocating for brown people, so she lost her proximity to whiteness. This is the work of dismantling white supremacy. This is what it's going to cost. It's time for some radical acceptance. Because they've been out there killing black and brown people for hundreds of years. And people who looked like me were having picnics under black bodies as they blew in the breeze after they'd been lynched. And then 6 years ago, when they kneeled on George Floyd's neck, we all put a black picture in our Instagram, acting as if that were enough. In order to dismantle white supremacy, we have to be willing to lose the benefits of whiteness. Means they kill us too. That's what that means. And it's time for some radical acceptance about that, guys. That's what it's going to take to dismantle white supremacy, is losing the benefits of the system. So we can't be so shocked as white people continue to die. Because we weren't this shocked when black and brown people were dying. Because we expected it. Not because we weren't grieving, but we expected it, right? You should expect it. We have to lose the benefits of the system if we want to tear the system down. White supremacy has been killing black and brown folks. And it's not going to go down without a fight. So if you lose your proximity to white supremacy and whiteness, you will lose the safety that goes along with it.
Donald Trump's not the problem. MAGA's not the problem. ICE isn't even the problem. They're all symptoms. I mean, ICE is an imminent problem. They're an invading force in multiple cities and states, and they are literally a weaponized version of the Klan that is state-sponsored and has endless amount of money for some reason. But even if all three of those went away today, we would still have the problem. And the problem is this. White people, people who look like you and me, we've allowed white supremacy to flourish in this country for generations and generations and generations, so long that people don't even recognize it, myself included sometimes, right? I had a moment just last weekend or just earlier this week in New Orleans where I was speaking with a guy on a trolley who grew up there. And he's like, well, you're from the South, right? I grew up in North Carolina. That is the South. You might want to fight me on that. It's not the deep South. He said, you know why everyone's so polite here? And I was like, I don't. And he was like, well, we had to be. He was like, everyone had to be polite to each other, especially black people to white people, because if we didn't address them properly, we would get killed. I make U.S. history content. And I didn't even think about that. I grew up in the South and I didn't even think about that. That's how normalized every day white supremacy is in our country. And if the white people in this country don't decide that they're going to extricate the cancer that is white supremacy from themselves, from their homes, from their communities, from everything that they are surrounded with, we will be right back in this position 5 years from now, 10 years from now, however long it takes for the cycle to regenerate, because it will happen. Trump's not the problem. MAGA's not the problem. ICE isn't the problem. It's white supremacy. It's been white supremacy. It will be white supremacy. It's always been that. And if we don't work towards it to fix it now, then when? Oh, and by the way, if you're a white person watching this, guarantee you, when we get rid of white supremacy and the systemic white supremacy that kills people every day, every single one of us will be healthier. We'll all be wealthier. We'll have better access to food. We could even have walkable cities. We could have walkable cities, but that's white supremacy. In action, right? The way we've designed our cities is white supremacy in action. So just think about where you want this country to be in 5 or 10 years. Think about how loud you want to be. You will lose people. That's okay. We'll have each other. Let's go for it.
Ever notice how most white people are very silent about racism? They're quiet about calling it out when they see it. They refuse to talk about it in everyday life, but then proceed to say, yeah, I treat everybody the same. I'm not racist. I love everybody. When they see injustices, when oppression cannot be ignored, they manage to do just that. Pretend like it's not happening. for their comfort. When you don't speak up on something, when you pretend it's not as big of an issue as it actually is, you say, I'm a good person, I treat everybody the same. So what these other white people are doing to harm and oppress other people has nothing to do with me, so I can stay quiet and just allow it to happen. That is prioritizing your comfort over justice. That is what's keeping this whole system that white people designed alive. This whole racial hierarchy. When you are scared of rejection from other white people, if you're scared to talk about these things, if you're scared to be vocal, if you're scared for people to cut off contact with you or to remove you from a friend on social media, if you're scared to be scapegoated yourself, you are fully responsible for keeping the system alive. The injustices that people of color experience are your fault, just like the rest of the majority of white people. You are not better than someone who is racist themselves because you allow it. You allow it. And if every single one of us that claims to not be racist went and took a stand, became vocal, didn't hide to protect themselves. There was uproars when a rich white person was just let go with a warning when they committed a hate crime, and we made big deals about these things because we genuinely cared. It wouldn't happen anymore. We held racist people accountable. If none of us tolerated it, the ones that said they're not racist, if we didn't tolerate other racists, I think we can end this whole racial hierarchy thing going on. We held cops and judges accountable. If we punished hate crimes to the fullest extent, if we had a zero tolerance policy for racism, if every racist person was blasted online by other white people, we took a stand and said we are no longer enabling other white people just because we don't want to be rejected by them. I think that this country could look a lot different. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to do anything. They want to pretend like they're doing something. They want to pretend like they care. But everybody moves about with their ego in mind. Everything is me, me, me. What will happen to me if I do this? What will happen to me if I'm vocal? What will happen to me if I'm an outcast? Who cares? Who cares if you're scapegoated? Who cares if you're an outcast? Do what's right. I just can't stand how weak people are.
I have been guilty, as has a large number of friends of mine, of saying the following. I'll be discussing what's going on, recounting the horrors going on in this country, particularly for anyone other than white. And we'll be talking about it. And then one or the other of us would say, well, I just can't. I've stopped watching the news, or I can only take it for a little bit and then I just have to turn it off because I can't abide this. And I would be right there with them saying, me too. There's only so much you can take. After all. I woke up at some point and recognized we only have the luxury of saying, I'm just going to turn this off and not look because we're white. That's it. We are white. So we have that luxury of averting our eyes, of closing our eyes, of taking a break from the horror. Once that realization hit me, I became what's probably a horror show to my friends. I don't know why anybody follows me on Facebook anymore, because the only thing that I post, almost, slight exception for the great-granddaughter, the only thing I post on there is the horrors of what's going on for so many people. And the horrors of watching the democracy, the destruction of it, which is pretty much accomplished, and the horrors of what this means for the whole world. We cannot turn away from it. We may not turn away from it. As someone said in a meme I saw the other day, somewhere right now in the United States, a young girl is writing in her diary. I've also been thinking and saying for quite a while, If anybody is going to be able to lead the resistance to what's going on, to be the biggest pain in the ass to ICE, to all of it, it's got to be old white women. Why? Not because we're born heroic, hardly that. But what we do have is the least to lose. We don't have young children that we have to protect. We don't have beginning careers that we want to protect. We have already lived long lives. We need to be on the forefront. I saw a post this morning about it by a young man who's British, but of some, I don't know, Asian descent maybe, saying in Minneapolis, he has never seen the kind of bravery he has as old white women are displaying. That's not bragging. That's saying, get out there, old white women. We need to be doing whatever we are physically and mentally capable of doing to stop this horror show.
So one of these white ladies had just said that for white people who try to speak up for black and brown people, it does not end well with them because it limits, or let me say, it decreases their proximity to whiteness, and it also cuts off the benefits that they would have gotten as a white person. This is the reason as to why many white people, even though they can see the atrocities that their own people are doing to black and brown people, they can't speak about them because this lady has just said if a white person tries to speak up for black people, for brown people, he or she is targeted and considered as not of the white community. All the benefits, all the privilege that comes with being white are cut off completely. And this is something that most white people are not ready to face. They're not ready to undergo that just because they were speaking out or maybe fighting for black and brown people. But my question is, how long will this go on? For how long will they pretend or maybe live in their comfort zone because they don't want to go out and speak for the other people, for the other races? How long will this happen? I believe that the idea of us being humans is what should just clock in one's mind. Even if you're a white person, you're getting white privilege, you're getting all the benefits that comes with being a white person. So for white people who are scared of coming out of their comfort life or comfort zone to speak for the black and brown people, I can consider them as also evil because tell me why you will watch a black person being harassed, a black person being oppressed, but you can't speak about it just because you're going to lose all the benefits that come with being a white person. If you're really human enough, you will say that you can stay with the benefits, but I'm going to stand up for other people. I'm going to speak up for other people because they are also human and they don't deserve all this oppression, all this systemic discrimination, all this racism. One thing that people forget is that you might be a white person, but maybe your daughter or your son marries from a black community, marries from a black race. So, how are you going to deal with that? You have maybe an in law who is black. How are you going to deal with that? And we all know that love is love. When your child comes and tells you that, you know what, dad, you know what, mom, I have found love from the other race, you will not decide for him or her. Especially nowadays, unlike in the past, whereby parents would choose partners for their children. Nowadays, everyone has his or her choice when it comes to marriage, when it comes to relationship, unlike the past. So, will you cut off your son? Will you cut off your daughter just because she married from a black community? Because of your own racism, internalized racism towards that race, because of the narratives that you have in your head about this other community. That is something that people don't think about. Many scenarios can come off from this topic. maybe your son or daughter who is a white person goes to study in a black majority country. Will you want those black people to treat your child the way you are treating them? You wouldn't want that. These are some of the questions that these white people need to sit down and ask themselves. Is this something that I want to be done to me? Because even in the Bible, they say, do unto others what you want to be done to you. You don't want to be oppressed, you don't want to be racially profiled, you don't want to be harassed, you don't want to be killed, you don't want to be raped, you don't want to be done anything bad. But how are you okay? How are you just sitting comfortably watching when another person, whether from a black community, whether from a brown community, being done to all these bad things, but you can't speak up because you are afraid of losing the privileges that comes with being white? Because when you associate yourself with these people, with black people, it seems like you're cutting off your own people and joining the other race. So, for white people, it's time that you stop sitting back, relaxing, and just watching. I love those white people, especially the ones you have watched, who come out to speak for black people. That's a good thing. Who come out and speak the truth without fear, without the fear of losing their privileges. Because if we want unity, if we want growth as human beings, let's not even talk about race. We need to be together, we need to work in unity. But if we continue looking down upon each other, or a certain race looks down upon another race, there will never be growth because it is always fights and fights and fights. It's high time we're done with this, guys. It's tiresome. I wonder how these white people never get tired of all this shit. They can just call it off and live peacefully. They will have no deep guilt within them. That said, let me know your thoughts about this. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I really, really appreciate. See you in the next video. Bye.